You're listening to Deliberate Living, a podcast that inspires, empowers, and encourages listeners to live life more authentically. My name is Holly Priestley, and I'm a full-time nomad who has been living in my 1997 Ford van for more than a year. I travel the United States with my dog, learning how to live with more authenticity. I explore different ways people choose to ditch the prescribed life we've all been sold and live on their terms, finding freedom and happiness however they choose. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Deliberate Living Podcast. I'm your host, Holly Priestley, and this week we have my buddy Caleb Ruecker. He is a vanner now. He has been in different vans on and off for about 5 years. He's in his fourth van now. His van is named Leroy, after a great friend of his. And I am really curious to learn more about his story myself, and I think you guys will learn a lot from him as well. He's had a very interesting background, and I love the way that he sees the world. So I think you guys will gain a lot from him. So, hello, Caleb.
Hello. I hope everybody out there is doing all right.
It'll be a couple of weeks that this will actually go live, and who knows what COVID will be doing at that point, but, hopefully it's better.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't get robbed of the summertime, because in Portland we don't have much of a summertime, so we got 3 months.
How long have you been in Portland?
My whole life. I grew up kind of in the mecca of it all. It's a place called Mount Tabor. It's a volcano. I grew up on the north side of it, so I've been here ever since. And I'm kind of like, I should have been the mayor of this town, honestly. But I've done a lot of traveling, but I always find myself to come back here because it's home,
Yeah. That's awesome.
Probably one of the most beautiful states in not only the country, but it might be the most beautiful place in the world. I mean, when it comes to we have the beach, we have an hour away, we have the mountain an hour away, we have the desert an hour away, we have, Southern Oregon. I mean, we have so many beautiful places. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I drove through that part of the country last fall, and I've lived in Colorado for the past few years, and Colorado is really heavy on winter and kind of heavy on summer and really short on spring and fall. So I haven't really gotten to experience a good long fall with a lot of colors. Colorado's kind of 2 or 3 week long fall period, but I feel like because I did kind of slow travel through the Pacific Northwest last year, I had 3 months of fall, and it was so great. It was so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's calendar worthy. It's all calendar, and the colors and the smells and the crisp air and the hot days and cold nights, and I don't know, it just has this. I don't know. I believe you can really only get it here in Oregon and a little bit of Washington, and then mostly, back east in New York and Pennsylvania and Vermont and stuff. So
yeah,
and Portland, Maine, of course. But yeah, our falls and springs are pretty epic, and they last probably about 3 months, and then our falls are about 2.5 months. So we have nice transitions, but you have harsh winters, but our harsh winters are 40 degrees and raining, and that's pretty that'll fuck you up mentally and physically.
Yeah, I'm a pretty solar powered human being. I need a lot more sunshine than that part of the world gets.
It's been a privilege to grow up here, so it's been nice.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. How has it changed for you since moving into the van 5 years ago? What prompted that change, and how is that a different experience?
I would say since I was a little kid, I've always been into I've always wanted. I grew up really. I had really bad anxiety and depression, and my outlets were just freedom of getting away and building tree forts and just weird little I don't know, I guess I fantasize in a way living in small nooks or closets, or having these ideas of living in a boat or just weird cool spots, because I thought just a square room was just so boring, you know, and they all look the same, and they're not, you can't get creative too much with it. And I always wanted to live in a van ever since I was a little kid. But I think it's not only is it the freedom, I think even if it's not 9 to 5, it's just like you have to have more than one job, you know, to really pay. Nothing's under $1,200 a month, and just like nothing really that to me, that's like, I've done it, and it's so stressful. You can't really have a life, you know, even though I lived my life still, the back of your head was like, am I going to make rent? Am I going to get through this month? But it was never like that until Portland really started booming and getting really crowded, and turned into Sim City. But I think, I think like my anxiety and my depression has pretty much made me who I am, and it's put me on this like against the grain kind of track that I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like waiting for people. I'm very impatient. I mean, when it comes to like people like, oh, you know, like I'll go with you, you know, I prefer to be alone because a lot of people say a lot of things that they don't, you know, follow through. So I've been like, I took on a lot of alone time, you know, and mentally I've been alone my whole life. You know, I have a lot of support and love and friends around me, but I choose to be alone because, I mean, like they say, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. And I've kind of always done it myself. So I think that it's almost like a Peter Pan kind of fantasy. I mean, I've never really had any fantasies, but I always like, you know, live in a tree fort or live in a little bunker underground, or like even when it came to a sheet fort, you know, on the table, you put a sheet over it, or like,
oh yeah,
always had, or like when Jack Skellington and Night Before Christmas, he has like his little room, and it had like his fireplace and a chair and a bookshelf and like a library, and like just like that's it, you know. You shouldn't have any more than that, you know. It's just like I never really had a lot of stuff before, so, and I only really think that you only need what, you know, you don't really need a dresser, you don't really need like tables and chairs and all this stuff to furnish a home. And I don't know, I just feel like that's just like, I mean, you're really just, I call it barbs. You're just barbing yourself up, just another barb, you know, holding you down. And but I've been that way ever since I was a little kid, you know. I think BMX has helped a lot, just because the way you live as a BMX rider, it's so simple and, you know, carefree, and, you know, there's things you need. Like the only things you need is what you should use every single day, or seasonally, of course, if you live in a seasonal area like we do here, you know. But yeah, I feel like but mostly it's the freedom of just getting to the point where once you get to that freedom, I think then you find yourself more. Then you find your balance, and then you find what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and then you can follow through on those steps.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that, you know, in my own experience, and of course your mileage may vary, having moved into the van and really like simplified a lot of, you know, those other barbs, you know, a lot of the complications that, you know, living in a sticks and bricks house puts on you. I've become so much more me than I ever was before. And like, I'm so much more at peace, and I'm much calmer. And, you know, like, I'm a human being. I still have bad days, you know, or bad weeks, or the occasional bad month. But in general, I'm much more confident, much more comfortable, much more like self-reliant and capable than I ever was before. Because like you said, like, people are great, but if you want to do something right, do it yourself. And I want to live my life right, so I'm not going to let somebody else tell me how to do that.
Absolutely. You know, and if people telling you how to live your life and what to do, it's just like, coming from like, you know, when people say that or whatever, or maybe you shouldn't do, it's like, well, maybe you should look in the mirror first, and before you start telling everybody out, you're like, you know, it's like, I mean, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but you should. You know, there's a lot of reason why I don't read those books out there. I'm not interested. You know, I read the index or whatever, the first page again. You know, but I don't. You know, everybody's different. And I understand that it's not for everybody, but I'm glad it's not for everybody. But at the same time, everybody should get the chance to be free and know that you don't have to go by the rules, and you can do whatever you want. And it's your life, and if you don't do whatever you want, then you're kind of wasting it in a way, because you've been told to, you know, these certain things you have to do your whole life, and people listen, you know. I think that's the part where we win, is we don't listen. And then the more you don't listen, the more it works out for you, because it's almost like you stepped into the current and that current took you, and then whatever happens, but they're afraid to jump in that current, you know. So.
Yeah, everything is scary, like, until you do it. And then you do it, and you kind of, like, look back at previous you, and you kind of laugh, like, oh, what was I so scared of? You know, like, this is fine. Jump in, the water's fine. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I was one of those kids who would, like, climb up, like, literally a water analogy. When I was a kid, I would climb up to the top of the diving board, and I'd, like, walk out to the end, and I'd look down, and I'd get scared, and I'd come back down, and I'd make all the kids who had lined up behind me, like, climb down so I could climb down, because I was too
afraid. Yeah, because it was scary, because there's a lot could go wrong, you know, but those are the times that you just weren't ready to take the leap yet.
Yeah, and I've never once regretted doing the things that were right for me. You know, even if I was afraid of them at first, like, once I've done it, I've never regretted doing them. And so for me, what's right is living in a small mobile space. And for me, what's right, you know, is being a freelance writer. And for me, what's right is right for me. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for other people, but I think that you need to give yourself the space and the permission to pursue the things that your gut tells you are right for you, but society might say, you know, that you're wrong, or you're going to end up down by the river, which is the joke we hear all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Living down by the river ain't so bad.
People, no, it's like, don't knock that. You can go fishing, swimming, sun rotting. There's a lot of options besides sitting in the house and watching Netflix, and just jacking off all day, ordering Amazon.
Yeah.
More to life out there, you know?
Yeah, and I think when you, especially, like, living in a van or, you know, out of a backpack, like, you do experience life more, and you're not so, like, on your phone, on your computer, on Netflix, on Amazon, on YouTube. Like, you know, you live out of your van more. Like, you're in tune with weather and, you know, all of those things more than you would be in a house.
But when you know, if there's moments where you want to do that, yeah, you can do that. But, like, it's few and far between, I think. I mean, maybe on a rainy day like this, it's like, not much. You know, I'll just, you know, maybe get a cup of coffee and just people watch, just stare out the window. It's the best TV station you can ever have for free. So
yeah,
you know, but being inside sucks. I mean, people are like, well, you know, everybody's different. I'm like, well, no, yeah, that's true, but the human being should never fucking be inside. We should never just sit in and just get out, do something. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't like riding my bike alone. I don't know where to go. Fucking go. Just, you don't have to have a destination for anything. That's the best part, is like when you go, you find the most amazing things, or you run into like good people that you haven't seen, or you see something crazy that you would never see if you didn't move, you know, like it's important. And then once you get those experiences and you have those moments, and it's just like, that's just more stories to pack in, and more wisdom or more experiences to share, or just like kind of makes you stronger in a way, depending what they are, you know. Like, I think people in vans are just I think we're just, well, we're special people, you know. We get it. Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that you said there was that people are afraid to go do things alone. They don't want to go ride their bike alone. They don't want to go for a walk alone. They don't want to move into a van alone.
But I tell you what, like, I have a lot of social anxiety and like never would go anywhere alone. Like I wouldn't even go to the grocery store by myself like 5 years ago. Like I just couldn't hang. And it's taken a long time ghosts. It's taken a long time for
Seriously.
me to get to where I am now, but like I feel so much better being alone and by myself, and that sense of capability and self-reliance is fucking huge, and
Yeah.
people just
And
don't
not having
like.
it's not like there's no codependence, there's no like tie downs, there's no
Mhm.
weird like, if it's like people are like they want to like come like I don't there's a reason why my bed fits a certain size. It's me. There's a reason why everything's situated in here. It's me. It's mine. If you don't like it, you can get the fuck out. Like it's not for you, and it's not gonna ever uh like morph into to you or for you, like
Mhm.
this is me, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, then maybe it's just not gonna work out. So I think it really weeds out a lot of the bullshit of like somebody that lives like a normal lifestyle, or just doesn't know what they want yet, and they kind of just admire, yeah, like me for the image I am rather than the person who I am on the inside. Because
Mhm.
I'm carefree and I don't take anything seriously, and all fun is the most important. That's like the main objective in life, and I just don't. And I have this secret image of like people don't know what I do for work because I don't talk about it, and
Mhm.
it's like, and they always see me having fun, but it's not just like a Instagram like image. This is who I am. This is what it is. This is what you get. It's not any, what you see is exactly what I'm doing a lot, like daily. I don't post old stuff, because that was then.
Yeah, yeah, I really admire that. I think that's great. When you first moved into the van, did you have any fears about that? Like, were you worried, like maybe this won't work, or what am I doing, or did you have any of that, or were you just like, nah, this is the thing to do, I'm gonna do it?
Yeah, I didn't have any worries at all, except the girl that I was with at the moment was probably disgusted, or like, why I think a lot of people get it the wrong ideas. Like, I'm not a fucking crackhead cooking mess in my van.
Yeah,
Like I think right when I did it, I like it was on. I finally found that opportunity to where it's like I don't have to have an apartment. And I mean, I thought about it for years. It's just, I guess it's supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen. But yeah, I couldn't be in an apartment with one of my partners. I couldn't live with roommates. I just couldn't, because that's taken away from so much of my life and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think like I was half in the current
hmm,
up until the point where I jumped in the van, and then it was like full current. And then obviously you take the leap, and I don't worry about anything ever. And because if you worry now, you're just going to worry twice until about that thing that's ahead of
yeah,
time. And so it's just like there's no point to worry twice. So I just, I'm not going to starve to death. Like, you know, it's cheap. I have money. I can do things. I can do things whenever I want, but I can also leave and not be a part of any of this and be alone. I really love being alone. Like, it takes years to adapt to that. It's not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing, but that's your choice. You know what I mean? But I
yeah,
do prefer being alone because I don't like a lot of people. And I think it's just like, once you find who you are and what you do, if you don't do it, you blew it. You're
yeah,
really, there's no going back. Once you're in the van, there's really no going back. You're only going forward. Like, the next you'll live in a boat, and then the
yeah.
next one maybe you'll live in a tree fort, and then maybe you'll dig a hole in the ground and make a little underground little like bunker, or a tiki like, I don't know, live in a tent or live in a hammock. I don't know. There's all sorts of fun things it would suck just to live in, you go from a box and then you wake up and then you get into a box with wheels and then you go to a box with work. And then it's just like, if you put it that way, it sounds fucking miserable, you know?
Yeah, it sounds insane.
I grew up feeling miserable and being miserable, and I never wanted to feel that way ever again. And so I knew that I can have full control. And a lot of people don't understand that they have full control of their lives. You know, they just don't take it.
Yeah.
Ever.
I think people, when they're in, you know, normal society's grasp, especially if they don't necessarily want to be there, there's all of these like parameters built in your head about what you have to do, right? You have to go to high school and get a diploma. You have to go to college and get a degree. You have to work for somebody else. You have to work in a cubicle Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You have to get married to one other person of the opposite sex and buy a house with a white picket fence and a golden retriever. And then you like build your own prison around yourself that you then have to like keep working to sustain, versus actually just like opening the door to the prison that you built and leaving because you actually have that capability.
Yep. And everything that you've collected and adopted on the way, leave it there, because it's just stuff, you know. And it is a fucking prison. I have people that admire me all the time the way I live my life, and I'm like, well, don't admire me. I'll admire you when you do it, you know, like, because, and then I'll be proud of you. But like, and then the people that say they want to do it, it's just like, well, what are you waiting for? What do you got? Like a couch and CDs and shit, like a TV? Like, you can have that in a van. Just, you know, like, it depends on like how big a van you want, or how, you know, like, I just think that people are, I don't know. Yeah, well, they're definitely scared for sure to do something like this. But they also, when you don't know patience and you don't know yourself and who you are and what you like, you can kiss your ass goodbye, because you might as well just start over in another life. If you're a new body and a new soul, you're just gonna be into like who's famous and who's doing what and what's the newest nice shoe and like what's, you know, it's just like you're really going off by just that traditional timeline instead of like making your own, you know, and and experiences and collecting wisdom and all that stuff is like the most important thing. Like I want to go out full, you know, fully like packed, and I want to go out with like an eye patch and like a peg leg and just like slide into home base, you know, all fucked up. I don't want to be all like pristine and no wrinkles and you know, I think and people that are like, well, where do I go and what do I do? And like, you're like,
experiment.
I can't help you there. Get a plane ticket and fly somewhere, and don't have any like rental car, don't have an Airbnb ready, and just say fuck it and see what happens. I bet you'll have the most amazing experience of your entire life, and you'll never forget those moments, even if they're a little scary and they're a little hard. But yeah, you'll be all right, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces to, you know, living a life that you're happy with, and that's like authentically you, is knowing yourself. And I think that that's something that like you have in spades, and a lot of people do not have at all. You know, they're doing this like, well, I'm supposed to like this and I'm supposed to do that, and if only I did these things, then I would be happy. And then, you know, they're miserable and they don't know why. And, you know, people don't necessarily know themselves well enough to know how to build a life that they actually enjoy. And so if that's the case and you don't know like what your thing is and you don't know what you want to do, like try something. Do an experiment, run little tests on yourself to like see what makes you happy, or like notice when you're in that mood and you're like, oh, I'm really happy right now. Like, okay, why? What kind of mood are you in?
What
like,
was it? You know,
what people are you hanging out with? What are you doing?
And pay attention. You know, a lot of people, and I will say a lot of people did know themselves, but since, social media and technology has taken over. I think a lot of people lose themselves because they don't practice. They don't really keep practicing these things that you have to keep practicing in order to keep learning who you are and what you don't like and what you like. And I mean, it comes down to like simple things. That's why everybody just goes to a fucking bar. That's why everybody's a fucking drunk. You just don't know what to do. It's like, well, in the summertime, why do you have to go to a bar? Why can't you just take a 6-pack and go to the river or the forest, So, like, I think a lot of people are lost and confused because they've been, there's the lost and confused that don't know what they're doing and don't know what they want to do yet, but there's also the lost and confused that actually want to take the leap, but mommy and daddy's credit card is more important. So they have to make a choice. They don't want to piss their parents off or look bad and be like, oh, I'm living in a van, or I'm going to travel and live out of a backpack, because that's kind of like bummy. That's like to some parents that might be like disgraceful to the family and just like it's, and so they're listening. And it's like, no, fuck your parents. Like, they had their chance to live, and they did. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But you should never let your parents tell you what to do after you're a certain age.
I don't think you should let anybody tell you what to do. Like,
no.
But I think that expectation of like other people's expectations and letting that rule your life is super common and not healthy at all. It doesn't matter. Like, it could be your parents. A lot of times it is your parents. Or it could be, your friends or your work or your loved one. You had a girlfriend when you moved into the van and you weren't really sure what she was going to think. But you did it anyway, which is great. But a lot of people wouldn't. I didn't for like 10 years. I didn't move into the van. Every time I wanted to, and I was like right there, right on the precipice of like, I'm gonna do it right now. Something in life would happen that would make it inconvenient, air quotes for those listening and not looking at the video, to live again, and I would just not, do it. And then eventually I was like, girl, like, you have to do it, or you have to like remove this item from your to-do list. Like, do it now or don't. But like, I mean, I get where they're coming from because I've been there, but also now that I've like made the leap, I see that it's not as scary as it was. And like, if anybody cares that you live in a van, like, fuck them. You don't need them in your life. You don't need that kind of negativity.
No. But at the same time, you're like, damn it, what took me so long,
Yeah.
But you're like, God, I could have been doing this when I was 12. I'm like, Jesus, like, it's unfortunate. I think it's important. A lot of people are like, well, you drive to the beach, like, what do? You're like, you fucking sit there and stare at the sun, watch the waves. You don't have to do anything. But people can't do that. They don't know how.
No.
So if you don't know how to do that, you can never live in a van, ever. If you can never get to the point where you can just sit and just stare and make a cup of tea and just not do anything all day long, it won't work for you.
If you don't like your own company, moving into a smaller space is going to drive you crazy.
Yes, very. And I've had some small spaces.
Since you've been in your van, in 4 different vans over 5 years, what do you think are some of the biggest differences that you experienced at the beginning when it was brand new, versus, the luxury condo that you live in now?
Well, when you have it rough from the beginning, it makes you appreciate the most amazing little things, like heat.
Yeah.
Didn't have heat in my old van for 2 years. Like this is as far as I could stand up, and which is not that big a deal. It's like, if people are like, well, what do? You're like, well, you fucking go outside. Like, I think heat is, I mean, it's cold too a lot here, even on like spring, summer days, it's cold. But I think like I went through it, and I went through it right. Like I got to like have the really hard times in the vans to appreciate, obviously, Leroy now. You know what I mean? Like, I had leaks in the other van, a lot of condensation, and there was mold, or I only broke down once in my other van, but I had a 1976 Shorty van, and that thing would break down every half a mile. but so I've learned a lot. Like I've always known about engines, and I'm not into the bells and whistles or anything, but I think you have to experience vans, even if like they're so small, or you don't have a lot of storage, or you just don't have the amenities, or just the plush bells and whistles. I think that comes with time, and that comes with like aging with living in a van. I think that's
Mhm.
important, and then you appreciate those things so much more, and you don't take them for granted. And then just having a more solid shell around you with a reliable engine is very important. I think it's this thing is great, and it's only going to get greater. It's gonna it's everything I've always wanted, but I could still go up. I could still,
Yeah.
but it's like at this point, this is like everything that I've earned from having those last three vans that have put me through like hell, but I still didn't give up. A lot of
Yeah.
people give up, and I never give up on anything. So I would never give up on something that makes me truly happy anyway. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to start from the ground and then build up from there and go through all those experiences.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that having that tenacity is definitely working in your favor for sure. I also agree that making sure that your van is mechanically sound is really critical, because when it goes to the
Yeah.
shop, it's not just taking your car to the shop, it's taking your whole house to the shop. And it's nerve-wracking. And if they have to keep it overnight, like some mechanics, only a few mechanics will actually let you like sleep in your van on their property, but there's like liability. So like then you have to deal with not having your house. Like it's just make sure your van is reliable if that's the route you're going to go.
I have these things called just in case backpack, like a travel bag, and it has like a tent, it has a sleeping bag, it has all this camping gear in it, so I could just grab it, put my valuables in it, and then be good. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like you just got to think ahead, and you got to be smart.
A house, whether it's on wheels or not, is an investment in your livelihood, in your lifestyle, in your quality of life. So like I don't have the brand newest van in the world. It breaks down sometimes. Things happen. And, when I don't mind taking it to the mechanic or trying to fix it myself, which is very rare because I'm not a mechanic. But yeah, like you said, like I'll hand over the money knowing that like I'm contributing to my life and my happiness
Yeah.
and my peace of mind for
As
sure.
long as you got food and a little bit of gas money just to keep you rolling, that's the most
Yeah.
important thing. But you have everything in the van that you need, so it's not like you had that money was going to go towards it anyway, and you're not going to buy something that you don't need with money that you don't have. And it's nice. It just feels good to. It's like a sense of security knowing that, like, even if it's simple, even if it's a new hose or a new tires, you're like, well, I didn't need the new tires, but you're like, well, I kind of did. And if you didn't, at least you have new tires now, and you got like 500,000 miles on them, and you're good. And you're like, that's so. It's just like I think seeing it visually, like whatever you put in the van to make it run better. When you see it physically, rather than just giving your rent money away and then not going to anything. When you see it in your engine, like there's something new and shiny, and it's not going to
Yeah.
explode, and it's such a good feeling, and it makes you just want to go play because you don't have any responsibilities, and you just fixed it and you're good to roll.
Yeah.
So
Having the confidence that you can do the things that you want to do, and like having the freedom of time to be able to do that because you're not having to slave away over a paycheck to afford, some exorbitant rent in a place that you don't even own, then that's all better.
yep. And because when you spend all that money at a home, yeah, you might have a home, but you don't have any money to go do anything. So,
Yeah, there's a
wait for the
balance.
next check, I just found that I know that I went from like this to this to like this to this,
Yeah.
So it's something that has probably been the best things ever, not only just living this way, but the experiences and the things that you get put through, and just just certain things that you'll never be able to experience unless you're in that position.
I think that you need to, be brave enough to take a few steps in the direction of where you want to go. Like, you don't have to commit to going all the way. Like, you might take a few steps in the direction and realize, like, man, maybe this isn't quite exactly what I want. And then you, like, adjust as necessary. But I think that does take a lot of courage for a lot of people, like, in the beginning. Then you, like, build up that confidence as it all works out, and as you get, more comfortable with moving in the direction of, your own version of an authentic life. So how do you afford living in the van, if you don't mind my asking?
I don't know. No, just so I basically find myself being retired, and I just work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of support, and a lot of people look after me, and I just have, it's just like I said, if you jump into that current and you're scared, yeah, things might be a little dry at moments, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like the next couple months, like I just got work that I didn't even expect, and that's what makes it exciting. But yeah, I just got, like, today, I just called, I got like some odd jobs tomorrow, and that will take care of like my funds for camping this weekend. And I don't spend any money on anything I don't need, and I'm pretty spoiled when it comes to being loved by a lot of people. So I have like options to go to people's houses and shower and do laundry, but like I buy gas and I buy food. Like, I have everything I need. I don't believe in like buying something that you don't need, that you don't use all the time. I find that weird. You get it, and it's like, it's hard enough, like in the winter, like my surfboard stays up, or like when it's raining all the time, I can't use my metal detector, or just certain things. But these are all things I use every single day at some moment, like my fishing poles, and there's my bike, and I have my skateboard, and I have like, like diving stuff, and, just like certain times I have something for every part of a day or a month or a season. So it's very important. But like, I'm pretty frugal, and I'm good at like saving money, but like I'm not spending the money. I mean, it's nice to have like a little savings for the van just in case something happens. But
yeah,
I kind of just don't wait for something to happen. I'll just fix it and get it done with. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, that money's gone, but that went to a good cause. And then I just put out my feelers, and then I just get like odd jobs, like last year I worked on a horse farm.
I want to know how you get jobs on a horse farm. I would love to work on a horse farm.
The most important thing is knowing a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and I've been around, and I'm very friendly, and I've connected with lots of people over the years. So the more you do that, the more people build trust. Like, I house and dog sit, and people invite me over to like watch their house for a week because I could be trusted. I'm a trustworthy person, and I'm a good person, and that goes a long way, and having manners goes a long way. And so the more people you meet, it doesn't matter about a degree. It doesn't matter about like what's on paper. It's like what's in your heart. And if you're a good person and people can trust you, then they will be like, oh, let's and not to mention, I have nothing going on. So it's like, I'm the one to pick to watch the dogs. I'm the one to pick to watch the cats in the house and to do certain work, because you can always count on me no matter what, because I have a lot.
You're available.
On my hands. Always.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. I think that has so much merit. Like, I think that, and I'm guilty of this myself, being raised this way. Like, you put a lot of stock into like having a stable career and, making a name for yourself that way, or, having a company matched retirement fund or whatever the fuck, when like, you don't really need to do that. Like, you could just do odd jobs to like pay for the next tank of gas. Like, I have done so many random jobs. Some of them you would consider careers, and a lot of them were like one-day gigs. I've done everything. I've done the fucking gamut. And like, some of the most fun are those gig jobs where you're like, I'm never going to do this again, but this was a blast. And then you walk away with a $100.
if you do it again, you know how to do it. And you can be like the guy that they would be like, hey, do you know how to do this? And you're like, actually, I do. You know,
Actually, I
I
totally
learned how to do it. And
Yeah.
if you don't, fucking fake it and adapt quickly.
So the 3 rules that we have learned in this segment of the Deliberate Living podcast is network your ass off, be a good person, and don't be afraid of a little bit of hard work.
Absolutely.
I think that sums it up.
Being a good person is the majority of things. Probably the first thing, and then work hard for sure, because a solid work ethic goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like if you're going to move into a van and you're going to build it out yourself, you're the one who needs to build it out. And that work ethic definitely comes into consideration. And even after it's done being built, there's always things that like need tweaking or need fixing, or, you know, like your house is rumbling down the highway at 75 miles per hour. Like stuff comes loose. You're going to have to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it for you.
Turn a corner. There goes the kitchenette. You know, there goes the spice rack.
I've lost so many things.
And it's cool because it's like, well, I guess that's not going to work. Let's reinforce it. You know, do something different. And in the space is so small, is you can feng shui at so many different times. You know, so which is nice. It's fun, and it keeps your brain more creative on new things. You know, seeing it differently. You know.
Yeah, you learn new stuff all the time too. Like, well, you know, the last time I built out a van, I did this thing and that didn't work. Or, you know, next time I need to make sure to give myself space here for that. You know, just like stuff that you're not going to know. Some vans come with ghosts. Maybe they have an opinion.
Yeah, they definitely have an opinion. It's quite the orb party in here, even in the daytime, which is kind of amazing, actually. They're here. They are here. And they have a voice.
Yeah, and if they occupy the van too, you should take their opinions into consideration.
I do, but I also have my crystals and my rocks right here, just to let them know that this is my home. You know?
Yeah. So, what are your future plans? Are you gonna stay in Leroy for a while? Are you gonna get another van? Are you gonna sailboat? Are you gonna go to Asia when everything opens back up? What you gonna do?
Future plans? Nope, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in pushing forward any more than next week. I think it's a good idea to think no more than a couple weeks. I don't think you should ever think more than 6 months. If you plan a trip to fucking France next, February, I think you're an asshole, because life is crazy, and I think that's why you'll get let down. There's a lot of people let down because they plan too far, because life takes its toll and life happens and crazy things happen and things can change, I think. But if you do nothing more than a week or so, I think there's a pattern there, and I think it locks in a lot more smoother, and you won't be disappointed. But I think Leroy will be in my life for a while. It's a 2006 Ford Econoline Super Duty, and it's a utility van, which you can't really get them unless it's through a company, and it's a very sexy van. So I'm gonna keep the shell. I'll probably drop a new engine in it. So I kind of want to have this one for another. It's hard to say. Like I can't predict the future, but because one day I might come up on a bigger van, but definitely drop a new engine in it. I might do a pop top like yours, like a shell. But fucking the integrity of the van kind of scares me. Not to mention I'll have to get rid of my racks, and I'll have to get rid of my cargo box.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
It is a trade-off, but it also is a good trade-off, because even 2 more feet makes a whole hell of a difference, And and definitely I'll get a captain's chair for sure. But yeah, I think I'll keep Leroy for another, I would like to say like 5 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Chassis is everything's good, nothing, it's just like small itsy bitsy stuff here and there, and I can keep it alive, but the frame is solid, so why would I, and if I did get probably a Freightliner Sprinter, like not a Mercedes, maybe an early mid 2000 Dodge Freightliner Sprinter, but every van I've ever had I've given away to people that I just would want somebody to have that experience that can't have it because they don't have money.
Yeah.
So just give it away to the right person that will have that dream come true, you know, for them.
That. I think that's incredible.
So,
if you were going to give advice to somebody who is considering moving into a van, what would you tell them? I feel like the whole interview you've been like spewing advice and it's been amazing. So I don't know.
I've been spewing something for people moving into a van for the first time. Let's see here. I would say, I would say do it because you want to do it and don't do it because it's the thing to do. I think that's very important. I think it's not, unfortunately, it's become a fad, and it's not a fad, it's a lifestyle. And if you don't look at it as a lifestyle and want to have lifestyle changes, I think that it doesn't deserve you, and you don't deserve it. And it's, you might get more Instagram likes if you think that it's going to go your way or everything's just this beautiful. It's the idea of it that you want, and it's not truly what you want in your heart. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. I think the things that will come from it is more than you could ever imagine. With literally every day, not to mention when you're sleeping, that's a whole different ball game, on how you learn how to sleep and stay aware and stay awake, but also get the best sleep ever. There's a lot of things that you have to give up, and there's a lot of things that you have to take in and new things you have to learn. I think it's important to try, at least try it, if anything, but if you ain't gonna give it 110%, don't do it. Don't waste your time, because then you're just going to be let down if you've just been watching Instagram and YouTube videos on van life people. And, if it's not for you and you don't want to, you just want a van and the idea of it, then don't waste your time. A lot of people have, they always ask me the pros and cons. I think when you dive that deep into that lifestyle, there is no cons, because you are complete, that you found happiness, you found everything that you've wanted to do. I think the only con is I can't stand up, which is not a con. It's just like that's how it is with this vehicle. There's so much more pros that came with it. There's more out here. There's way more hospitality on the streets than there is in a apartment complex.
I have definitely found that to be true. That people are more generous, and they want to be supportive, and then especially other vanners, or people who are nomadic in some form. We kind of understand what you've been going through. If I have water and you don't have water, you can have some of my water. That's like a thing that we run out of. It happens.
And we're always here to help. It's not like it's not like there's secrets and shit. Oh, I don't give away my secrets. Yeah, my secrets are, I'm not showing you my swimming holes, and I'm not showing you my camping spots and my beach spots. That's the only secrets. You'll see them, and then you'll ask where they are at, and I'll go, oh, that's in Arizona. And then, or oh, that's in Texas, or somewhere where the ocean doesn't exist. But
I'll share a meal with you any day of the week, but if you ask me for my favorite camp spots, I'm probably not going to tell you.
Probably not.
I think that living in the van definitely gives me a lot more time to be who I am. And I love making meals for people, especially whether they're vanners or not, sharing a meal. That's huge for some reason, especially in the van community. Sharing a meal with people is great. That makes a lasting impact on not vanners. And, they're like, how do I do this? How do I make this my life? And I'm like, it's not that I'm not doing anything you can't do. There's nothing in here that's uniquely me. I'm not doing anything different,
It's honestly harder to do so many other things than it is to do what we're doing.
Thank you, Caleb, for joining me on this episode of Deliberate Living. If people wanted to come find you on the interwebs and see what you are up to in your van, how would they do that?
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. I would say I have so many Instagrams. It's at vanrodder _. Nope, that's not right. So it's van _rodder. So it's VAN _ROTTER.
Okay, that'll be in the show notes as well.
And that's mostly just my everyday living and my lifestyle of everyday metal type things, surfing, skating, riding, just every day, just doing what I want when I want.
Well, I will have links to all of those in the show notes and in the blog post for this episode. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But I hope you guys are having an awesome day and tune in next week. We've reached the end of this episode of Deliberate Living. You can find the show notes and everything we referenced over on my website, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, on YouTube, or sign up for email updates every time something new is published. I'll see you next time on Deliberate Living, and until then, keep your life on the DL too.